Have you fumbled a gentleman because of middle class communication tactics? Miriam Asani, how do you do? So this is part 2, and some of you will say, what I'm saying is toxic in communicating. This is not how you should communicate with a spouse. So Lisa Glamour, of course, as you'll say, I feel, yes, that's how my husband and I communicate. Why? Because when a gentleman marries you, then he demonstrates with his actions that he cares about how you feel, right? So this whole withdrawal, rewarding inconsistency. One of my ladies who came from a middle class background went dating with an affluent gentleman for a few dates and was invited to his yacht party, and there were several other ladies. It was a mansion party, something of the sort. And then she saw that there were several ladies that he had invited there for dinner, right? So she was furious and she fumbled her bag, right? So she and her gay friend did something similar to what Meghan Markle did, right? And yeah, so you'll hear all sorts of different stories, and she completely fumbled it because that was his advice, and she wrote it to me. And then I thought to myself, eventually I'll have to make this video because I thought, it's common sense. When you date, you don't behave like you're married. You don't give your date husband level benefits, right? So if they are your date, right, if he has not said he is exclusive, assume he has a rotation. Don't get shocked and moralize and huff and puff, right? If you don't like his behavior, remember, meet undesirable behavior with unavailability. These tactics work and get real results. Some of you say, oh, why should I cater to gentlemen? There's an excellent video by Chrissy of why should cater to the male gaze. If you don't cater, you will split the bill. So you should cater to him and yourself, right? It should be a win-win situation. You should be assertive and at the same time effective. Lisa Glamour's I feel statements are ineffective when you're in the courtship phase, because why should someone care how you feel if they barely know you? Most gentlemen don't care how you feel in the beginning because they just want to smash. So if you're sitting there and say, I feel sad that you don't call me, I feel sad that you're inconsistent, he will simply replace you. So instead, ghost him and then he'll chase you, right? That's what works. So let's find out what the secrets are to elite feminine communication and what are common middle class communication mistakes that we should avoid, and how can we be successful and effective with affluent feminine communication. Now again, this is not for how you talk to your spouse, although you might find some things useful. This is all about how you communicate with someone at the boyfriend level, the talking level, maybe even fiancé level, where you don't have the solid commitment of marriage yet. I've seen too many ladies fumble their relationship with affluent and provider gentlemen, making these basic middle class and lower class mistakes. And even some femininity gurus like Lisa Glamour make some of these mistakes. Mirmasani, how do you do? I will of course go into Lisa Glamour's video on feminine communication, and I'll also be talking about common middle class and lower class mistakes ladies make when dating a provider, and what can you do to communicate in an elite manner. I will be divulging the secrets of elite ladies and how we stay on top, as many ladies who are much prettier than us fumble the bag because of basic and common communication mistakes. So, Lisa Glamour talks in her video about communication that there is light and dark feminine. So this is the first mistake. Although she does have correct points, which I will go into, that come from psychology. At the same time, no, we have elite feminine communication, or royal communication, regal communication. And light feminine is being a pick-me doormat. It does not work. Dark feminine communication is being Machiavellian or being a sociopath, or too much on the dark triad, assuming affluent men with far more experience than you and twice your age are idiots. I hate to inform you, but they're not. Many ladies hate my content, write terrible reviews saying, I'm wrong, I'm a horrible person, because I don't confirm their bias and refuse to coddle them and entertain their opinion that, in my life experience, is wrong. Affluent gentlemen are not stupid, and in this economy, providers are not idiots. So, in the past, the average Joe was able to be a provider, and this is why the middle and lower class advice given to you by your mothers no longer works, because those factory jobs are now in China, and elite gentlemen require a different form of communication. Maybe some of these communication tricks will work with everyone. However, if you fumble with an average Joe or with a Dusty, right? They're so lucky that you even picked them. So you make a mistake or two or three or five, many of them will still stay with you. However, when you're with an affluent gentleman, they have a rotation of ladies usually. And if you fumble, you get replaced the same day. In the 1980s, half of ladies were housewives, and factory jobs were not in China, but in Western countries, right? So the economy was different, where an average gentleman could be a provider. In this economy, being a provider is something special, few men can do, and therefore, providers today are special. They're often upper middle class and above, and they have options and many ladies chasing them. Maybe not as much as billionaires, but they do have far more options than middle class average Joe did in the 1950s or 1980s. Another major difference is that women work and there is the pill. So that's another reason why your grandmama's advice does not work. Because in the 1950s, women still had to be hypergamous, even though there was a lot of romantic propaganda. Ladies didn't take it that seriously. And first, they would pick someone who's the best father material. Today, they go for romance in all seriousness, which means that most women listen to Taylor Swift or live Taylor Swift, right? That's why she's so popular. And most of them are romantic and they friend zone the excellent, decent provider gentleman and chase the terrible, jerk, broke, dusty loser, which is why there is the red pill. Or maybe you don't have common interests because you also have to have friendship, things in common. There's so many different factors, but if it's not going on well, simply message me as the expert. Many of my ladies have married multimillionaires, others have married simply providers and are so happy. So do let me know, because I don't look for just, oh, he's rich or something like this. I go for the best father material for your children, instead of tolerating bad behavior from some lad just because he's rich. Lisa Glamour did say it's important to be assertive, so if he invites you upstairs, she said, you don't say this light feminine, no, you have to say dark feminine. No. You must say in your regal feminine. No. If he invites you upstairs, no. You should not let a gentleman drive or walk you home, because they will always use this opportunity to try to test your boundaries. And if you're tired and you give up, then he thinks less of you and nothing positive can happen. So, under no circumstances should you ever let a gentleman walk or drive you home. You are always responsible for your transportation as a high-value lady. It's those car companies who were the wingman and gave propaganda that, a gentleman should pick up a lady from her home, right? This was all done so when he drops her bag, he goes into the bedroom and manipulates her. So absolutely don't do that. So a difference between affluent gentlemen and average Joes is so many ladies will try to sleep with elite gentlemen, okay? And if you don't, that's how you stand out, right? Don't be afraid of ladies who sleep with elite gentlemen. One of my clients was nervous that on her gentleman's roster there was this beautiful yogini Instagram model. And I said, you have nothing to fear. She's an Instagram model. She's so pretty. I saw her. And I think she had work done, but she was a 10 out of 10. And I said, he's going to have fun with her, and he'll dump her, you'll see, and he'll come right back to you in boomerang. Just don't fall into any pressure. Just date other gentlemen and work on your roster. It's normal to have a roster at that level. So she was wondering if what I was saying was true and asked me why. I said, look at her Instagram. It's all thirst traps. She looks clearly insecure. You have her cleavage everywhere, her bum everywhere, in the tightest, tiniest Lululemon, and she has a lot of likes, thirst traps, and, gentlemen in call centers, they cannot access corn, so they watch her and they go into the men's washroom and have some fun, and then click like and say, oh, do you have lonely fans? Do you have OnlyPants? Right? And no, she doesn't have pots, she doesn't have pants. My client said, she's came to me, for her wardrobe, so her color season and all this. And then she asked me relationship advice, which is how it usually works. And she was worried about her. I said there was nothing to worry about. She said, her favorite suitor became less available. And then suddenly he asked her out, and was really aggressively available. And she said, oh, I'm busy, etc. And he's like, I would love to go out for dinner. She's like, you've been busy. He said, yes, I know, I'm so sorry for not being more consistent. She said, thank you. To me, for a relationship to work, I do need consistent communication. So they went out for dinner, and he said, I apologize. I never said we were exclusive. She said, yeah, that's true. He said, so I have a confession to make. I was also dating, this Instagram. Of course she knew, right? This yogini, this yoga instructor. She's like, yeah. And he said, well, she was such a pick-me. It was so awful. So he was saying, I was dating this yogini who's always on Instagram showing off her bikini. She was such a pick-me. She was so dull. So she would invite me for dates, and she would pay for my dates. Can you believe it? And I make so much more than her. And she would take me to Michelin-star restaurants, if you can believe this, and she would pay for me. She was so desperate to be liked. It was so awful. And within a couple dates, she dragged me into her bedroom, and I don't know, the second time she was trying to drag me, I just did not feel it at all. She had no self-respect whatsoever. It's amazing when you have someone so beautiful, but their personality of how desperate they are just turns you off. It's so terrible. My client said, oh, it must be so frightful. That's awful. He said, I really feel so bad, that you and I started dating and we kind of drifted apart, and I should have committed to you. I should have asked you to be exclusive and started dating you. And she said, you know what? We can just be friends, right? I mean, I prefer consistent communication. And he said, I do want us to be exclusive. And she says, well, I don't. I rather like the idea of a roster. That means I can date whoever I like too, right? Exclusivity, to me, means engagement. So, if you want to be exclusive, we can go to Tiffany's and look at engagement rings, or perhaps Cartier. So my client was engaged within a month or two later. And he was determined, after his experience, to be engaged to my client. And then they started dating, and then they both realized that they don't actually have much in common. Who knew, right? And they would be happier, to break it off. And then they broke off the engagement, and at the same time the engagement gave both of them status. See, she was not desperate to chase him, to sleep with him, or okay, I don't mind. There's so many other gentlemen in this world. And he realized he would be losing this treasure who had options. And she, therefore, though this Instagram model was one of those freakishly attractive 10 out of 10, and my client is beautiful, but she's not carved like a pumpkin with the perfect plastic surgery. I mean, that lady was freakishly beautiful. My client is naturally beautiful. I would say I'm an 8.5. I'm pretty, but there's certainly, I'm not the sort of person that you turn around, wow, is that a human? No, I mean, I'm cute. I look good enough, okay? But being in beauty pageants and modeling, I have seen ladies that just make you go, wow, and your jaw drops, right? So that lady was one of those. And she was a model too, very tall. And instead, he went for my lady, who is beautiful, but the girl next door sort of pretty. See, looks are important to be good looking enough, but you can win against far more attractive ladies by knowing how to handle conflict and with your personality, by not being a pick-me who chases gentlemen who's too nice. Gentlemen don't respect that. See, gentlemen don't love the way we ladies do, and that is the whole point. Gentlemen respect first. They marry those they respect. Some of you will say, what about Lauren Sanchez? Well, she was an attack helicopter pilot and had an attack helicopter company, and she was a Fox News anchor back when that was controversial and so on and so forth. So she was badass, right? And that was a marked contrast, and she was also embracing her femininity, sexuality, etc. And this was such a contrast to his Barbara the Builder wife, who was a mouse, right? Who, once he got to his billionaire level of success, Jeff Bezos stopped respecting. But, we can't copy-paste Lauren Sanchez, right? Because her path is difficult and it's peculiar to her. That's why so many ladies hate her, because if you fall in her footsteps, you will fall, right? It's not the traditional path that works for most ladies. But what we can learn from her is that she got the respect and admiration of Jeff Bezos via her competence and also femininity. Gentlemen must respect you in order to love you. So a big mistake pick-me's make is they think, oh, if I sleep with him, he will love me because, gentlemen, they like cheeky boom boom, they like bonking, therefore if I give him what he says he likes, he will love me. And that's not how they operate, because they're not women, right? If a gentleman gives you beautiful gifts, wonderful holidays, Birkins and all those things that you like, you may fall in love with him. Even though maybe you don't respect him, maybe he is, a politician of the political party that you absolutely hate, right? Maybe he's a Republican politician and you're a Democrat. Or maybe he's a Democrat politician and you're a Republican. And you absolutely don't respect his politics. But any gift that you dream of, he always leaves at your doorstep. One day there is a Ferrari, one day there's a Birkin, one day there is this, one day there is that. He's an absolute gentleman, takes you on the most beautiful dates, most romantic, writes you poetry. End of the day, you'll think, I might not respect your views, but you're so much better than the ones I do respect, so I'll give you a chance. With gentlemen, it doesn't work that way. We do have a mirror imaging bias, so because we ladies like when nice things are done for us that we like, and that helps gentlemen court us, it does not work with them. Lisa Glamour correctly says that respect is most important. So she says you must respect the gentleman. But more importantly, you must respect yourself for him to fall in love with you and see you as high value. So if he offers you to, go to his place or to cook for you, you say absolutely not, right? You are firm in this. As if he invites you, oh, let's go to vacation together, you say, absolutely not, we're not engaged. I would only travel with a fiancé. Now, if you're a virgin, you would say, I believe in being a virgin until marriage. We shall have our first trip on our honeymoon. Having strong boundaries, delaying intimacy, makes you far more attractive as wife material and stand out from the other girls. Of course, elite know that luxury is overpriced and that 80% of it is made in China, and we still buy it, right? Because of the exclusivity. That's what attracts us, right? And it's this, so that's what you pay for, the markup of 100 times something, right? And that's why you should be the Birkin ladies. So, ladies, when you communicate, you should always be firm in respecting yourself first. Then you respect him as well. If he invites you on vacation, say no, right? Because he's trying to see if you will put out. And of course, elite gentlemen will invite several ladies on the same vacation, right? You're not his fiancée, remember that. He'll want to see if you're thirsty. That's what elite gentlemen look for. And then they will take advantage of you if you are. So he'll say, oh, do you want to go to St. Bart's with me? Say no. No, we're not engaged. You're not my fiancé. I don't want to go to St. Bart's with you. Oh, do you want to go to Saint-Tropez with me? No, I don't want to go to any Saint-Tropez with you because you're not my fiancé. Or let's say if you're waiting until engagement, if you're a virgin, say, of course I won't go to Saint-Tropez with you. Silly, you're not my fiancé. Remember I told you I'm a traditional lady, right? That makes you exciting and so different from all the pick-me's jumping on him. The fact that you say no makes you so fascinating. If he tries to pressure you, say, oh, but the other ladies will do this. If he is not chasing you, when you say, I'm not interested, I am only intimate with my fiancé, and he's pressuring you, it means he's not looking for marriage. He just wants to play around and waste the lady's time until he's a bit too old to play around. So then it's good riddance. If you say no, let's wait until engagement, then it means you are low body count, the way he perceives it, so high value. Let's go over elite feminine communication secrets. Always be positive and assertive. So, if you don't like something he says, start by withdrawing. Let him chase you. When he asks what is wrong, that's when you use the I statement. But in my case, I prefer, not I feel, like Lisa Glamour says, but I prefer. Act and embody that you are used to a certain standard and behavior. Remember, always say what you want. Never say what you don't want, or you're telling him that that's what you're used to and you respond to. So whatever you say is what you're used to and you respond to. So never say something that you don't want under any circumstances. Never say that your ex hurt you, even if that's the case, because then he'll think, oh, you stayed with this behavior, he'll do that too. Say I prefer instead of I feel. You can also say I enjoy. Then you enforce your boundary by leaving. Always reward positive behavior. When he does what you want, praise him for it. Yes, Lisa Glamour correctly says that gentlemen like being your hero. That's why they don't like it when you blame them, right? Or when you judge them. That's why, let's say he splits the bill and then you say, I don't like Democrat men. It's not going to work. because he'll feel judged, that you look down on him for being a Democrat, or if you say, I don't like Republican men, or be positive. Don't judge and don't blame. Focus on the person and not the problem. State what you want clearly. Clear communication gets validation. Don't have any adjectives, and say that you prefer X, you're happy with Y. Selma Hayek and her husband, who owns Gucci, use Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, and they use I statements, right? And she said we focus on the problem and not the person. We depersonalize the problem. Doing that and using cooperative problem solving is normal among elite, okay? Most elite have a therapist, see a psychologist, and the difference with the feminine aspect is the use of withdrawal, especially in the beginning as you get to know someone. Elite ladies have our standards and we accept or reject the offer. We don't sit and nag and argue. We state our needs clearly using I statements. I prefer this, I like that. And when we don't see our needs met that we have stated earlier, we withdraw. And then the gentleman chases us, and then he will see what's wrong. Then we communicate our needs clearly using I prefer. And we enforce our boundary by withdrawing if this need is not met. And in the beginning of a relationship, of course, things can be a bit different when you're married, but before you're married, when you're still in the courtship process, withdrawal is the key. Having your standards speak for you does so much more than nagging, yelling, why don't you do this, why don't you do that, etc. Please comment below what you found the most interesting in this video. Please like or hate, share and subscribe. Ciao!